Our story opens with Yoshioka Yuo, a high school student, waking up to her phone buzzing with texts from her friends. Today is the first day of high school, and Yuo is running extremely late. Since the entrance ceremony a week ago, she has been sick with the flu. Her friends suggest she take a day off since she won't reach school on time anyway. Suddenly, Yuo's sister barges into her room with a phone and tells her that one of her classmates is on the line. Confused, Yuo takes the phone and nervously greets the caller. It's Matsu Bakken, the class president, who has an extremely beautiful voice that immediately enchants Yuo, even without seeing his face. After asking if she's feeling well, Matsubara informs Yuo that they will have an orientation program followed by a medical checkup for students the day after tomorrow. The next day, Yuo goes to school, unable to stop thinking about what Matsu would be like in person. However, she still hasn't fully recovered from her fever and starts to feel dizzy in the corridor. Just as she begins to fall from nausea, someone catches her. The familiar voice of Matsubara greets her, asking if she's feeling all right. An excited Yuo gleefully looks up only to see a bizarre scene. Matsubara's face is completely covered with a brown paper bag, with 2 dots for eyes and a cartoon smile drawn on it. Despite this, Yuo's excitement isn't dampened, and she eagerly introduces herself. Noticing she still has a fever, Matsubara, as the class representative, takes it upon himself to escort her to the school's clinic. Meanwhile, in their class, the teacher begins to take attendance and notices Matsubara is missing. Just as his childhood friend Yui starts to defend him, a girl named Midori Awa jumps in and makes an excuse for Matsu's absence. In the clinic, the attending nurse is nowhere to be found, so Matsu takes it upon himself to care for Yuo. He puts a wet cloth on her forehead and makes her promise to never push herself unnecessarily. Matsu's bizarre headgear doesn't bother Yuo, and her chatty, excited behavior towards him signifies that she is quite fond of him. The following morning, Yuo's infatuation with Matsubara continues as she sees him outside school and accompanies him to their class. Unbeknownst to them, a few students secretly take their photo to complain about Matsu's weird headgear to the president of the school council, Hayato Makoto. Makoto is a strict personality who does not tolerate students breaking conventional dress codes and plans to confront Matsubara later. In the classroom, Matsubara and his childhood friend Yui have a conversation. Since Yui has been friends with Matsubara since junior high, he doesn't find the paper bag odd. However, he mentions that other students in the class do find it weird and constantly talk behind Matsubara's back. Just then, Yuo's friend Aki barges into the classroom intending to confront Matsu. Without hesitation, she interrupts the conversation between the two friends and asks Matsubara what he's hiding behind the paper bag. Although Yui tries to stop her from asking such rude questions, she does not relent, leaving Matsu cornered with no way out. Fortunately, Yuo sneezes loudly, drawing all the attention to her. Embarrassed at suddenly being thrust into the spotlight, Yuo begins to introduce herself to her classmates. She starts nonsense, pulling all the attention away from Matsubara. She talks about her favorite food and urges everyone to be friends with her. Taking advantage of this distraction, Matsu also introduces himself to the class and expresses his sincere desire to be everyone's friend. This heartfelt speech is enough to win over the class, and the tense atmosphere from earlier turns into a friendly environment. Following this, the whole class goes to the gymnasium for basketball practice. Although several people still sneer at Matsubara's paper bag, when he begins to play and effortlessly scores several points, most of the students are impressed by his athletic ability. After practice, Yuo and Matsubara chat, and the latter expresses his gratitude because Yuo saved him from a tough spot earlier in class. However, their conversation is interrupted by Midorikawa, who asks for a private chat with him. From her behavior, it's obvious that she too loves Matsu. Before they can have a private chat, Hayato barges into the gymnasium and angrily confronts Matsubara. He clearly states his dislike for students who do not adhere to the school's dress code. Hayato gets even more personal with Matsubara, asking the onlooking group of students how anyone can trust a person who hides his face behind a paper bag. He singles out Yuo from the crowd and asks her to come forward. Confused, Yuo remains silent when he questions if she knows what kind of person Matsubara is. She tries to defend him but cannot do so under the intense gaze of Hayato and his deputies. Suddenly, Midorikawa steps in and boldly proclaims that Matsubara is a great class representative who cares about everyone. Hayato, aware that she is the daughter of the school's director, completely changes his tone. He makes an excuse and backs off from punishing Matsubara on the spot. He and his deputies leave the gymnasium, promising to handle this matter later. Following this, Yuo apologizes to Matsubara for not being able to defend him, but he tells her not to worry and instead apologizes for dragging her into the matter. A few days pass, and Yuo's infatuation with Matsubara grows stronger. She notices how he always greets everyone with kindness and never lashes out at anyone. However, his demeanor does not impress Hayato and his deputies, who are still angry about his unusual headgear. One afternoon, they stop Matsubara on the school grounds and confront him again in front of several students. Hayato warns Matsubara to take off his paper bag or he will do so himself. Just as he's about to extend his hand towards the bag, Yuo grabs him. She asserts that Matsubara is a very kind person and can dress as he pleases. However, Hayato seems more caught off guard by her beauty than by what she's saying. He asks her to let go of his arm and then rushes away. A flashback scene reveals how Midorikawa and Matsubara know each other. They were sitting side by side during the entrance exams, and that is when Midorikawa began to be attracted to him. Currently, she finds him alone in the classroom and approaches him. After asking if he remembers the first time they met, she tries to touch his face. Unbeknownst to them, Yuo arrives outside the class and misunderstands the whole situation. As days pass, Midorikawa begins to get closer to Matsubara. One day in class, she brings several bags of different colors for him. The whole class is now abuzz with talk of the two dating each other. Afterwards, Matsubara reaches out to Yuo and asks which of the bags that Midorikawa brought him would look the best. She responds that he looks best just the way he is. The following day, Matsubara comes with the same plain brown paper bag on his head, but the pencil-drawn emotions on the bag have changed. Instead of a simple smiley face, he now has a laughing emoticon. Later, Yuo encounters Hayato in the locker room and thinks he's angry at her for grabbing his hand the other day. In reality, he's smitten by her and can only mutter random words. She rushes to the office where she's been called by her English teacher. Soon, Matsubara and Midorikawa also arrive in the office, and the English teacher asks them to take the notebooks back to the classroom. However, the teacher doesn't want Midorikawa to do so because she is the daughter of the school director. He instead asks Yuo to join Matsubara in the task. Matsubara insists that Midorikawa should accompany him since she is the class representative just like him. This pleases Midorikawa, while Yuo becomes more suspicious of the duo's relationship status. A few days pass, and Matsubara finally notices that Yuo is no longer her happy, chirpy self. He asks his friend Yui about the possible reasons for it but does not get a concrete answer. Instead, Yui gives him a flavored melon bread and asks him to share it with Yuo. That afternoon during lunch, Matsubara takes Yui's advice and shares the melon bread with Yuo. In return, she gives him the bento box her brother prepared for her. Their conversation shifts to their personal lives, revealing that Matsubara also has a little brother in elementary school. Yuo wonders what he looks like but quickly backtracks, realizing that it may be offensive to Matsubara. Meanwhile, Hyodo's infatuation with Yuo continues. He goes to her class hoping to talk to her, but when she's nowhere to be found, another classmate steps forward and asks if he has any messages for her. Hayato tries to say something but ultimately fumbles his words. Embarrassed, he walks away and meets Midorikawa in the corridor. Sensing that he really likes Yuo, she says she's rooting for him. She then asks him to propose to Yuo, but he replies that he will do it in his own time. This sentiment of waiting for the right time impresses Midorikawa, and she plans to do the same with her one-sided love for Matsubara. Elsewhere, on the rooftop, Yuo and Matsubara have a conversation over lunch. Although she's curious to see the real face behind the paper bag, she understands that it may be something personal for Matsubara, so she does not want to force him to reveal it. That evening, before school ends, Hyodo's deputies call Yuo to the student council room. There, they set her up for a private meeting with Hayato. Soon afterward, he arrives, and the two have a heartfelt conversation. Hayato clears the air, explaining that he never wanted to get angry at her and just wanted to talk. This brings a sigh of relief to Yuo. On the other hand, Matsubara runs into Midorikawa in the library. She urges him to reveal his face to her in private, but he refuses. Although this leaves her slightly irritated, rumors begin to circulate that the two are now dating. This rumor reaches Yuo, so she decides to go home and cook some pumpkins. A few days ago, Matsubara had revealed that his favorite food was pumpkin, and Yuo now plans to win him over by cooking his favorite dish. The following day over lunch, Matsubara reaches out to touch Yuo's face. He is clearly smitten with her innocence and cannot help but extend his arm. Although Yuo has no problem with the gesture, she sneezes just as his hand is about to touch her. This jolts Matsubara back to reality, and he immediately retracts his hand, embarrassed by what he was about to do. He then lies to Yuo about having to meet a teacher and rushes away. In the next scene, Yuo finds Matsubara sitting alone on the school stairs, eating the pumpkin candy she had given him earlier. He immediately relays the rumor he heard and tells Matsubara that Yuo seemed extremely disturbed by it. A surprised Matsubara then opens up, saying he couldn't express his love for Yuo without first telling her the secret of his paper bag. This makes him feel like a coward, but he cannot reveal his secret just yet. Suddenly, Yui sees a poster outside a restaurant that gives him an idea. He wants to invite Yuo to a barbecue picnic over the summer holidays, giving Matsubara enough time to clarify that he's not actually dating anyone. Elsewhere in the classroom, two girls talk about Matsubara and Midorikawa dating. Yuo, who is standing nearby, hears this, and her heart sinks. However, Midorikawa comes forward and loudly declares that she is not dating Matsubara. She then asks Yuo to accompany her outside the class for a private chat. Outside, Midorikawa reveals that she likes Matsubara a lot, but it's only one-sided. There is nothing going on between them. Hearing this, Yuo becomes confused and wonders why Midorikawa is telling her all this. Elsewhere, Student Council President Hayato also asks for a private chat with Matsubara. He bluntly reveals that he likes Yuo and plans to fight fair and square for her love. A confused Matsubara tries to question why Hayato is telling him this, but Hayato leaves without giving an explanation. Matsubara then returns to the school's main building, where he bumps into Yuo. Without wasting any time, he asks her to join him and Yui for a barbecue picnic over the summer holidays. Yuo is over the moon by the offer and excitedly agrees. That's all for this part. Click here to watch more videos and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.